Hello, true art believers, and welcome to tonight's live art stream. This is Pierson here. I am the #1 live art streamer in the world, and you're watching 500 Days of Drawing. Today is day 460, and today we're going to be talking about gridded planes and how you can use them to basically make a well. We're just going to bounce off. We're going to be jumping off from last night's live art stream, which we made gridded planes. Now we're going to be using the gridded planes to create 1-point perspective cubes or shapes. Let's begin, shall we? All right. So, we're just going to get started right now. So let's see here. Let's the screen out of the way. I got to minimize a bunch of windows before I'm even ready to do this. So I'm going to move some windows around. There we go. All right. I think we might be ready. So yesterday we talked about gridded planes, and we established gridded planes, 1-point perspective gridded planes, using a diagonal measuring line, right? So what you have here is you used a diagonal measuring line to create your gridded planes. Now what you're going to do is we're going to use the gridded planes to make cubes, basically creating vertical lines off of these gridded planes. Now, to make it easier for me, what I'm going to do is going to make another layer, and we're going to use like a light gray. So I'm going to get a light gray right around here. Let's do like a dark, like a mid gray right here. And I am going to get this, and we're going to make a little bitty, a big old circle on the palette here, like that, so I can use that as the basis. So now that we have that established, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to basically, to make things more simple, is I'm going to use my guidelines here as a tool. So I'm going to use the guidelines as a tool. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the guidelines, and we're gonna make. Let's go start out by making. Let's make 2-inch squares. So yeah, it's 2 by 2-inch squares. So we're gonna go ahead and take the guideline. Actually, 1-inch squares. Here we go. We're gonna do another 1-inch square right here, and we're just gonna make a bunch of guidelines to make 1-inch squares here, just in case I decide to make a tower of sorts. Okay, I'm using the guidelines for demonstration purposes, and it's easier to do it because you can set up your lines that you make to snap to your guides. So that's what I'm going to have it happen is I'm going to have the guidelines snap to, my lines that I'm going to make snap to the guidelines. So we have a gridded plane. Each one of these dashed lines here represents a 1/2 inch, right? Represents a 1/2 inch. So every 2 dashed lines right here represents an inch. As you can see, it goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. So the next thing you're going to do after that is we're going to start out by going to my cube under drawing layer. I'm going to zoom in here, and using the snap to, we're going to press Shift. We're just going to use the base. As you can see, the lines being formed, it's snapping to that. There you go. Snap to that. And now we're going to do the bottom horizontal line. Now, Let's remove the extras. And as you can see, we got our cube in a light gray. As you can see, it's already starting to form here. The next thing we want to do is, as I said before, is we're going to have lines of convergence go to our central vanishing point, just like before, using going from each one of these corners. So from each one of these corners, we're going to make lines of convergence going to the central vanishing point. And I hate to do like reiterate the same lines here, but just for posterity's sake, just to kind of maintain all the lines, we're going to just do it all over again. So let's press it right here. And see, make a line. The problem with doing this, I'm going to use my mouse and see how that. No, we're not going to use my mouse. I can't decide what I want to do. As you can see, and we're going to press it right here, all the way to central vanishing point. Every time we call these, all these lines that are going down. All these lines that are going down here are called the lines of convergence. That means all these lines converge onto your central vanishing point. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm making lines of convergence that go to the central vanishing point, like that. Now, as you can see, you have all these gray lines. So the next thing I want to do is I want to define the edge, the ending of my cube. So the way to do that, since we're making a cube, we already have the measurements kind of laid out for us. So we have 1 dash, 2 dashes. These indicate half inches, right? Or a half an inch. So this is half, and this is a full inch, essentially. So this is where we have to end our cube here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end it. We're going to press right here, and it's, oops, don't want that. Like so. And we're going to, there we go. Right here, do the same thing. As you can see, and here's our cube. All right, so as you can see, we have our cube being made in space here. So now what we want to do is let's go ahead and outline that cube using let's do a little trick here. No, we won't do that trick. Let's outline that cube using black. All right, so here we go again. We're just going to go over these lines. Before I begin, I want to call it cube. We're going to call it cube, this layer, cube inked, something like that. Now, we're just going to outline it like so. Actually, let's go ahead and make it 3 pixels so it really stands out like so. And there we go. Now we're going to, there we go. All I'm doing to create this is I'm holding shift to make straight lines. So if you're wondering how I'm making these straight lines, I'm holding shift as I'm pressing against. That's a little off there, but that's fine. And we're missing one more. Here we go. Bam. Nope. So now we have a 1-point perspective cube and utilizing a gridded plane. So let's go ahead and do another one on the left side here, just for posterity. And then we're going to go ahead and get a little bit more technical, where we can, let's do that. we're just going to do a bunch of cubes on this side where it's a little bit more. Let's see if we can remove. What do we remove? What layers that I can remove some of this stuff? Let's remove some of this. There we go. We're going to remove some of this stuff so we have a little bit more room to kind of break down things. So let's do another one. But this time, let's go ahead and do a cube that's 2 inches, essentially. So this is 2 inches right here. And let's go to cube underdrawing. Let's go up to this gray. Test that. And then let's go over here. And we're going to go ahead and let's bring, for simplicity's sake, let's bring back the extras so that we can see, so we can use the snap to feature. Let's see if the snap to feature is still showing. Yes, that is good. Makes things easier. Now my pen is at 2 pixels, 3 pixels. I want to go back to 2 pixels because I don't want my lines to be too thick. So let's go ahead and zoom in over here. And we're going to press Shift. So this is 2 inches right here. And where that's 2 inches. So 1 and 2. And then 2 inches. And 2 inches. All right, so now we have our cube that is gray. Let's remove the extras again. So now we have the front face of that cube, that 2-inch cube that's going to go into perspective here. All right, so let's go ahead and play around with that. Let's go ahead and get that cube finished here. So what we need to do is each one of these corners, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, is going to go to the central vanishing point every time. Top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right is going to go to the central vanishing point. Very easy. Now, every time I do this, all I'm doing is I'm pressing on the corner with my stylus. You can do it with a mouse. And then I'm holding Shift and going to the central vanishing point. Being very careful, by the way, because I don't think I have like I don't have the stylus smoothing or stylus, like I don't have it stabilizing. So like if I were to sneeze or shake, it would show. So at the corner here, central vanishing point. Just take your time. There you go. That's close enough. We're looking for close enough. I don't need to be mechanical with it. Press the right here. Go to the central vanishing point. Boom. That was a little off. Actually, we're going to do that all over again. Top right corner, little dot, press Shift. Bam. Oops. I'm having troubles. Oh my gosh. Let's do it again. Let's go reverse. Let's go right here to the central vanishing point. Right here to the central vanishing point. And then hold Shift and then go from there. I think I'll allow that. Let's do the same thing. From the central vanishing point. Boom. Now, if you're doing this by hand, it takes a little bit longer, right, with a ruler, but you can still do it. It's still applicable. So there we go. Now we have our front face, and we have the side, the left. We have the left plane, or the left face, and the top plane of that top plane of that cube. The front face of the cube, or the front plane, the top plane, and the left face, or the left plane of that cube. Now, we need to define the edge of that cube. And to define the edge of that cube, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, these cube-like shapes utilizing the gridded planes are getting smaller as they recede closer to the horizon there. So that's one of the nice things about creating gridded planes. It tells you the depth of your cube to create a perfect cube. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the edge. Let's press shift. And we're going to make a line all the way to that. And there's the edge. Now we're going to go here, press shift. Nope. Do it again. Press shift. There we go. Good. And now let's follow suit over here. Press shift. Good. Now you know if your measurements and lines are correct is when these corners intersect each other. If you were if your grid was off, the lines would be slightly askew. They'd be slightly off each time. So that's how you know if everything was not correct. Now let's go ahead and do the base here. And shift through the line. There we go. That's close enough. Let's do it again. Close enough. All right, so now we have our cubes, our cube. Now we're going to ink it. Go into cube inked, and we're going to go up here and press that, and then we're going to go, and we're just going to go and ink this cube using a larger pixel brush. So 3 pixels as opposed to 2, right? If you're wondering why it takes so long to do a cube in perspective, I'm doing a cube in perspective as if it was done using a ruler and pencil and pen and ink to outline it. So I'm doing it that way because I want to show you that if you were to do this using a ruler and pencil, it takes just as long, if not a little bit longer, because I don't have that the ability. Actually, it might take a little bit. It might be a little quicker because quite honestly, sometimes I feel like the shift button is not necessarily quicker. It does make things a little bit easier digitally, but I don't feel like it's making it quicker in the whole scheme of things. So here we go. Bam. There we go. Let's do it again. As you can see, very, very slow process. It's very hard to do perspective, like genuine perspective digitally. I would assume that you probably do a lot of this via mouse. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try doing it via mouse just because it makes it easier, because I don't have to, like, the stylus kind of wavers, but with the mouse, it's just kind of like, it feels more like I'm doing a CAD program. There you go. And let's do that again. So now you have 2 cubes utilizing a gridded plane. And let's kind of remove those lines. See? Pretty neat, pretty nifty. And it's a very, like, elaborate way of making cubes. But you don't need to make a gridded plane, but you can use. It's kind of neat to use a gridded plane, anyways. I don't know. The application for a gridded plane it's kind of like sus. Like, some people might use it to kind of just to establish depth. You can probably use it to make railroads. You can use it for all kinds of things. But, like, maybe you want to make a giant chessboard. Who knows? I don't use gridded. I personally don't use a gridded plane for anything. I don't apply it for anything. Although I think some people would find utility in it. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's play around a little bit. Let's play around. Let's go ahead and I don't know. Make a let's add a cube like a cube right here or something. I don't know. Let's go do that. Let's just play around, add some additional stuff on top. Going to show the extras. Let's add a 1-inch cube. Actually, let's go ahead. No, let's add a 1-inch cube right here. And then maybe let's stack a cube on top or something like that. Let's do that. So I'm going to go back here and we're going to zoom out. We're just going to add a bunch of shapes on top of this one. We're going to stack some stuff on it just for fun. Just kind of make it a little bit more elaborate. So we're going to go back to the cube under drawing. And what I'm going to do is I'm not even going to bother drawing this line. I'm just going to draw the lines right here. So we're going to continue this line right here. Go right here, make it easier. Before I go, I want to make sure I have my pencil, pencil at 2 pixels as opposed to 3 pixels. As you can see, kind of stop. There we go. Now let's go ahead and make a cube right here. All these cubes are going to be transparent. And then let's see here. Let's add a cube. I don't know. I think that let's just stop there right now, right there. And then let's add those cubes. Let's get those cubes locked out. All right. So now let's go to view, take the extras off. Now what we have 2 front faces of a cube, and we're going to have those cubes go to the central vanishing point just like before. So let's start out by, I'm going to use the mouse. We're going to click here and go to the central vanishing point using the mouse because it's a little bit easier, a little bit more accurate. Go to the central vanishing point, as you can see. Woo-wee, look at that, man. Look at that sweet cube action. There you go. Now, same goes to this part. We're going to have a cube go over here. Let's just get the lines in, and then we got to define the edge. So you notice after a while, your central vanishing point can be like inundated with lines. Now, digitally, I could actually circumvent this and just do new layers for every new lines that I want to go to the central vanishing point. So I can just I could technically remove these lines and do another set of lines of convergence to your central vanishing point. But I'm treating this like as if you're doing it manually via the using a pencil and ruler. So here we go. We got our lines here. So now we got to define the depth. So this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So what you want to do is I'm going to imagine that there's a line going all the way up here. So I want to make a perfect cube like before, a 1-inch by 1-inch cube. So I'm going to imagine there's a line going all the way right here, which means this right here is where technically this cube ends. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to just draw a little line. We're going to draw an anchor line right here from this little corner here. Or There you go. As you can see, that's where the halfway is. All right. And now we're going to do the same thing here just for posterity. And then we're going to draw where this ends. We're going to draw a line. Okay. And then another line. And then another line. Right there. Oops. All right. And then no. So when you're doing perspective like this, especially when you're doing it via ruler and pencil, it can get very hard to kind of picture things as if they're transparent. So after a while, it can get very like just chaotic, as you can kind of see how chaotic it is right now with just a few cubes and a gridded plane. It gets very, very like overwhelming with all the extra lines. One nice thing about like one nice thing about the what's it called Photoshop is that you can remove these right after all is said and done. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and ink these using a 3-point pen. I'm going to do the same thing before. Cube inked, and we're just going to oops, let's go ahead and do this. And then like that. This hold and shift. It's kind of nice, actually. Having this to kind of hold shift and I retract that statement. I thought I was kind of nice, but it's not. There you go. And now we go ahead and just kind of do this. I feel like the jump from 2 pixels to 3 pixels is very noticeable. Like it's almost like it feels like it's double in size. It might be because of the I'm using 72 pixels as opposed to 300 pixels per inch. So because of the resolution, it's probably causing the Photoshop doesn't have the ability because of the resolution. Photoshop is kind of overemphasizing the thickness of some of these. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and do this one. Zoom in. So just outlining the cubes like so. There you go. Although right here, oh, what are you doing? Right here, didn't feel like it's on top. Let's just draw another line right here to kind of make it feel like it's on top. There we go. That feels a little bit better. Otherwise, it didn't feel like I was these cubes were on top. So as you can see, now we have 3 cubes. It took me about 30 minutes took me 40 minutes to draw 4 cubes. I mean 30 minutes to draw 4 cubes, sorry. But I'm also just I'm like kind of talking about it at the same time. All right. So let's remove all this jazz. Right? So you have a gridded plane, you have your 1-point perspective cubes here. Pretty easy peasy. Although if you look at this, I'm noticing that it doesn't feel level. That's just how like crazy it is to be off via Photoshop. I bet there's there's probably a much better way about doing this. If I were to do this, if I were to truly do this via Photoshop, I would drop ruler lines at every horizontal area and just use these grid lines and have a snap to feature. So all these lines would be level. But again, I'm trying to simulate the idea that this is done via ruler, and you're not always going to have perfect lines. So this is not a bad like little exercise in how you can create gridded shapes using gridded planes here. So there you go. That's it. Tomorrow, whoa, what's going on? Why is it doing that? Oh my gosh. It's like doing the opposite of what I want it to do. Tomorrow, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going over how to do 1-point perspective, but cube deconstruction using I don't know what you would call it. It's basically we're gonna make a cube and we're gonna break it down into smaller parts so you can make more complex shapes from just the cube. And it's like cube subtraction, cube reduction. There's various names for what you can call it, but you're basically going to break apart a cube and so that you can make more interesting shapes out of fragments in a cube. It's a very simple process. Again, it takes a lot of time to do, especially if you're doing it if you're doing it manually. But I'm going to go kind of run through the process, some of the techniques and processes on how you can go about that. Go about creating broken up cubes and shapes. So that is it for the day. I hope you enjoyed today's live art stream. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please, please, please hit the subscribe button. It really does mean a lot to me. I wish you all the best and you have a wonderful night. Cheers. But first, here we go. I'm sorry, it's a little late, I'm a little tired. It's a little hard to kind of talk about these things. But anyways, I hope you have a wonderful night. Cheers.